backcountry.church. Welcome to the next episode in our series, Summer of Inspiration. We're talking about Elijah and Elisha. I am on the Tahoe Rim Trail. It's a trail about 175 miles that goes around Lake Tahoe in California and Nevada. This is Heather Lake. After this episode, I'm going to show you around even some more of these little adventures. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my goodness. Just take it in. And God created that. He's got his, in fact, in Colossians, he created all of nature for himself. Isn't that amazing? It's got his fingerprints all over nature. Absolutely gorgeous. Hey, as we go into this episode, grab your notes in the app. You can download at the Apple App Store or Google Play, or at our website, backcountry.church. And we're going to hop into this episode. And again, right after this, I'm going to show you around a little bit more of the Tahoe Rim Trail. And if you want prayer, hello@backcountry.church, just shoot me an email. We would love to pray with you. All right, my friends, enough of Heather Lake. Let's start this episode in 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Backcountry.church, we are in this 5th episode of Summer of Inspiration, where we're talking about Elijah and Elisha. They had so much influence when they were living. These historical characters were pretty stinking amazing, and there's a lot we can learn from them. While we will never be Elijah or Elisha, nor would we want to be, nor would we want to live when they lived, there are so many lessons we can learn from their lives, from the events that occurred. We've gone through 4 messages on Elijah, and today we're talking about Elijah. Before we dive in, as I mentioned, I'm gonna share a little bit about my journeys in the Tahoe Rim Trail around Lake Tahoe. I just did a section of it. Do grab your notes for this episode in the app or at our website, and share this episode on your social media. I think it might be an encouragement to many people. Well, let's dive in. There have been many moments in my life when, I'm doing all the right things, but it just seems like I'm not getting ahead. Life is just, kind of like a treadmill. You seem like you're going far, but you actually aren't going anywhere. And I'm doing the work, trying to follow God as closely as I can. Years ago, raising 5 kids, taking care of family, and, being faithful and all that kind of stuff. Yet it seems like God is silent, and it seems like life is just hard and, sort of insignificant. You're just doing your stuff. And then all of a sudden, while you're being faithful, comes a moment in time that changes everything. And you can't script these moments. They just show up, and they're not often. They are very rare. And in those moments, you want to be ready to respond and to know exactly what to do. Good poison oak there, huh? I'm surrounded by poison oak here. Anyways. Well, that was exciting. I apparently got stung by a wasp, and ouch. Had to recover from that. Had to get a little coffee, and now let's finish this up. Anyways, what I was talking about is that there are moments, like being stung by a wasp, just kidding. There are moments in your life where that moment comes, everything changes. And these moments don't come that often, so you and I need to be prepared. I can only guess how many of these moments I've missed because I reacted with a no instead of a yes, with not walking through an opportunity, a door, instead of just saying no, kind of questioning it. I think I've come to the conclusion, I've tried to recently even live out that when opportunities come, when conversations come, the answer is always yes until it's no. And anyways, but everything is right about living faithfully and doing your work, raising your family, leading in a church, whether you're a volunteer, you're an elder, a deacon, or something like that, or part-time or full-time or whatever. There's everything being right, being blessed financially because you've worked hard and so on. But keep in mind that God has designed you for greatness. I think we still miss that. And we've had this discussion about John chapter 14, where Jesus is very clear that you're going to do greater works than I ever did. So that said, we need to keep that in mind, that God's going to present opportunities to you. And we'll leave it to God to allow those opportunities and those moments to occur, but we want to be ready for them, probably the best way to say it. We want to be ready to advance God's kingdom, to step into a special moment that God has for us and how we're wired, what we are designed to do, and so on. Let's pick up in Kings chapter 18. So Elijah, just pause there for a moment. So if you remember, Elijah was really combating depression and such. We talked about that in the last episode. And he ran from Jezebel. He experienced God. And he figured out he wasn't alone. And then this story. So Elijah went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. So Elisha is just this ordinary guy living during the 9th century BC when Israel was divided. Remember, there's Israel and they divided into two. You have the southern kingdom, northern kingdom. Northern kingdom's called Israel, southern kingdom's called Judah. Northern kingdom has 10 tribes or 10 states, and southern kingdom has 2. And Elisha found himself living at that time when the country that he was living in, Israel, was full of idolatry. They worshiped Baal. And he lived when the nation not only was divided, but when there's liberals versus conservatives. Sound familiar? And when the nation worships everything but God, the true and living God. Sound familiar? In a land where everybody had their own gods. Sound familiar? So anyways, he was plowing with the 12 yoke of oxen. So the oxen are his livelihood. That's how he made his money. Very, very important. So keep that in mind as we go through this story. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. So he was out on the farm plowing the fields. And Elijah went up to Elisha and threw his cloak around him. Let me keep reading verses 20 and 21, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. "Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye," he said, "and then I will come with you." "Go back," Elijah replied. "What have I done to you?" So Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then Elisha set out to follow Elijah and to become his servant. There's a lot there. Let's go back and just clarify what this all means. And I want to say that the main idea we want to talk about is the unwavering commitment requires a sacrificial act. So if you say you're committed, there's going to be some sacrifice on your part. If you sign up for Little League Baseball, then you're going to sacrifice buying the uniforms, being at the practices, and then being at the games and the road games and so on. Anytime there's a commitment, there's going to be some sort of sacrifice. People with unwavering commitment always have with it something that's been given up. Now, so let's read this. Elisha was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving 12th pair. In other words, he had the drudgery of plowing behind the plow and doing farm work every day. He wasn't the son of a priest. He wasn't a seminary grad. He wasn't anointed. Oh, you're going to be a priest someday. You're going to be a monk someday. He lived at his folks' place, his parents' house, and he was doing the same job that he was doing for a long time. The monotony of plowing. Oh, every season, over and over and over, planting, watering, harvesting. Sounds like whether you're doing remote work or a 9-to-5 in an office building, I mean, it kind of sounds like that. Just over and over and over, year after year, month after month. He probably didn't have much of a life. He finishes the plowing, planting, harvesting, and so on, and he starts all over again. He was just being faithful with the job that he had and serving the true and living God as best he could in a nation that not only hated God, but had other gods that they worship as a result. Well, kind of like you. Maybe you're studying in school, maybe you're working just to pay bills, raise kids, do the best that you can, loving your husband or loving your wife. And then another school year goes by, and another school year, and another school year, and it's just drudgery. He was, as you are, being faithful to the tasks at hand. And if you're faithful in the little things, God rewards that behavior. When and how, that is God's prerogative and his decision, not ours. In the middle of the faithful daily routine, God sent Elisha something new and different. You cannot let where you're at today, my friends, cause you to get stuck. I'm going to do the best I can right now. And that's what faithfulness is all about, being faithful. If you keep your faithfulness up, you keep your trust up, keep following God, you keep the right attitude, you're just going to keep doing it. Making sure you're not purposefully getting stuck or, not being connected with people and so on. You'll see that eventually God will open doors. Like Elisha. So Elijah went up to Elisha and threw his cloak around him. So that's the garment over Elijah. So he threw it on Elisha, and basically that symbolized, you're going to be my student. You're going to follow me. You're going to watch what I do, watch what I say. You're going to serve me, and eventually you will end up in a position of whether it's being a prophet or something similar to that. He said, I will be your teacher. Elijah said, I'm going to be your teacher, and you're going to be my apprentice. And in this case, ultimately, you're going to replace me, Elijah is saying. So 2 principles of commitment I just want to point out here. The first is you don't have to understand fully to obey immediately. You don't have to understand fully to obey immediately. God's telling you to do something, whatever it happens to be. God has already told you, you need to financially give to me. You need to apologize to that person. You need to study this material because I'm going to use it. You need to be connected with other Christ followers, whether in person or remotely or a combination thereof. And God says these things. We don't have to understand the ins and the outs of how this is going to work, what's going to happen, No, we don't have to understand fully to obey immediately. So the question is what is God telling you to do? Or what has God already told you to do that you're not doing? And it's not necessarily a guilt trip, but it's why don't you get up out of the chair and go do whatever it is he's asked you to do? So Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. Elisha's just saying, hey, how exciting is this? Let me wrap up things here appropriately, and then I will follow you. Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye. He said, then I will come after you. In other words, Elisha, nowhere in this does it say he had to pray about it. So nowhere does it say he had to pray about it. He didn't pray. He just went. He said, okay, this is it. This is what God is telling me to do. He didn't have to list out the pros and cons. He didn't consult with a counselor. He didn't ask for wisdom. He didn't even ask his friends. He said, this is from God, and this is what I'm going to do. In other words, be ready to say yes. Now, you don't want to do it foolishly. In this case, he knew, I don't know if he had ever met Elijah before or not, probably not. But obviously he knew the reputation of Elijah. That he was a prophet, and the whole famine thing that happened with Israel and Ahab and the ravens and all that, the calling down fire from heaven. So when Elijah shows up, this is a man of God. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Be ready to say yes. In other words, in my world, I would say the answer is yes unless it's no. Go as far as you can through the door, through the opportunity, through the relationship. And the answer is no, then it's no. Now I've said before, the human mind has the endless capacity to rationalize anything. Don't rationalize it if you shouldn't do it, obviously. But if the answer is yes, then walk through and be praying about it. Do ask for wisdom, as James tells us in the New Testament. Elisha had been faithful to God and to others and to himself. When that moment came, he was able to say yes. And again, the question is what about you? Are you in a spot where you've been faithful to God, faithful to others, and faithful to yourself, not being narcissistic? And as you do that, you're going to be in a spot where saying yes is actually pretty easy to do. God rarely ever gives us the details. You know that. God rarely gives us the detail. He will keep it vague. Otherwise, honestly, we'd probably never follow. I mean, if you knew what you were going to do in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, you'd probably say no. Too scared, too much fear, or whatever. But God says, just follow me. Sometimes God summarizes his direction in one word. Go, right? Go to the land. That's what he said to Abraham. Moses, he said, go rescue my people. I'll give you the details later, but go rescue my people. Sometimes God just gives us one word for us to hang on to. Sometimes God just gives us one word to hang on to. Maybe he's given that to you. What is that word? I would love to hear, by the way, from you. If God's given you a word in the moment, maybe this year, this season of life, you can shoot me an email at hello@backcountry.church. I'd love to hear. What is that word that God has given to you? The fact is that you're living life, you're being faithful, you're doing your thing, and God says to you, I have something for you. Let's walk by faith. So sometimes God doesn't have to explain to us fully for us to step into what he wants us to do immediately and to obey. Well, let me give you the other item about the principles of commitment. And that is that those God uses the most are the ones who hold on to the least. Now, let me explain this. So here's Elisha. He's plowing. He has his oxen. He has his land. He has his community, his family. He probably has some money because he's been doing this year after year after year. He's a hard worker. So Elisha left Elijah and went back to his house, back to the land. And he took his yoke of oxen, and this was his livelihood. This is like, $10,000 in the bank, and I'm going to just burn it all. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He didn't sell them. He didn't give it to his, friends or other family members. No, he slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people. They had a going away party, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and become his servant. You've heard Cortez when he landed in the Americas, and his people said, hey, this is too hard, to conquer the land, too much risk. And Cortez famously said, burn the ships. So that there's plan A, and then there's plan A. That's it. There's just plan A. And that's what happened with Elisha, is he burned the oxen, he burned the plowing equipment, he wiped it all out, he fed everybody, and they ate. It's kind of like your garage is full of stuff, your closets are full of stuff. If you have a basement, it's full of stuff, your attic's full of stuff, you got stuff everywhere. And instead of burning the ships or killing the oxen, is you just hoard it all. Like, get rid of it all. Like, absolutely get rid of it. It's probably time to pare down and just to get rid of it. I want to challenge you today to get out of your comfort zone, to have so much incredible potential on the inside, and God has given us gifts and talents in you that you probably don't know anything about. And one of the things that causes us to stop is all the stuff around us in our life, like actual stuff. Like, maybe you just need to start paring down, like getting rid of it. Say by the end of the year or the end of this week or the end of the month, I'm going to get rid of half of it. Whatever it happens to be. If your closet's full of stuff, you haven't worn stuff in over a year, get rid of it. Yeah, you can keep a sentimental shirt or two, but just get rid of it. Bless it and have it move on. That way it's not stopping you from stepping in and holding on to all this stuff. It's kind of like if you have two hands and you're grabbing hold of stuff, God can't give you anything more. But if your hands are empty, God can fill them up. What you want to do is just get rid of stuff, as an example. Now, it also could be sinful habits that you have. Get rid of it, or them. Or bad relationships. Get rid of them, or get rid of that relationship, and step into good and healthy relationships. In other words, kill the cows, burn the plows. You eliminate plan B, so you only have plan A. In other words, as a father, I would probably tell my kids, keep your options open, plan A, B, C, D, E, F. Keep your options open. But what the disciples did, when they were following Jesus, they left their ships, left their boats, I should say. And they just left their nets and they followed Jesus. Remember, he was being faithful in what he was doing. Elisha was. He was being faithful. And so as a result of that, he actually was able to pick up and leave and do what God had asked him to do. So as Elisha was being faithful and the cloak got thrown over him, God was saying to him, now you have a different phase of your life now. Now you're going to be Elijah's apprentice, and you can kill the cows and burn the plows. Here is what I have discovered about older people. I'm one of them now, apparently. We like our ruts. We like our comfort. Good book, by the way. I've mentioned it before, The Comfort Crisis. Pretty good thoughts in that book. I remember, points of my life along the way where these moments came up to burn the plows, to kill the cows. One, it was a while back, and that was when I had my six-figure income and an opportunity came up, a building became available, a church building, to restart a church. And so I quit my six-figure job, went to a job that they had no money. They were behind on their mortgage. And we started with 4 people in this church building. And over the years, we built it up, which is a whole different story. But I've been in situations like that. And I'm sure I will again in years coming up. Whether it's you quitting your job or stepping into a study program or, whatever. I don't know what your situation is. But when that moment arrives, I need you to be available to say yes and to risk everything. Stepping away from security and stepping toward your destiny, whatever that happens to be. What do you need to sacrifice now to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? What is it that's stopping you from being all in with God? And maybe it's, again, financial giving to His work, or maybe it is getting rid of stuff that just consumes, or I don't know. I would love for you to write to me, shoot me an email, hello@backcountry.church, and tell me, what is it that you need to sacrifice? I'll be your accountability partner. Just tell me, what is it? And I'll write you back. What do you need to walk towards and away from, so that you can live by faith? Remember, God has designed you specifically for great things. Father, thank you so much for Elijah and his understanding that he was to go call Elisha to be his apprentice. Thank you for the other items that Elijah did that we haven't even talked about, setting the stage for Elijah to be taken away in a chariot of fire, never to actually have died. That's a different story. But for us today, help us to know and to be ready for that moment when you've called us to something special, when we need to kill the cows and burn the plows, so that we can walk by faith and carry out what we were designed to do. Father, for those who are struggling today, I pray that you would give them encouragement. Those who are struggling with depression, those who are struggling financially, I pray that you would not only give them encouragement, but allow them to listen, to hear your voice, to know what to do next. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Okay, my friends, check this out. Take a look at my last adventure that just happened very recently. By the way, if you go to the Apple App Store or Google Play, download backcountry.church app. Join us there.